We have head coach Holly April, junior Olivia Gray, and senior Michaela Taylor here for you guys. Coach, do you want to say something just to open up real quick about how the season started this past weekend?
Sure. Well, we got off to a pretty good start, I think. It was unfortunate kind of the way the last game that we played, because we had to stop due to drop dead time with our flight. That does happen sometimes in tournaments, so, but I do think that we were going to win that game. But overall, I think we did a lot of good things. We have a lot of things to learn from. I think a lot of places to grow, but pretty happy with the way we started.
Last year you guys got off to a nice start,
and
things kind of went haywire down the back stretch. Is that kind of the goal this year, is to keep the consistency from start to finish with the way you guys started last year?
Well, I mean, I would say that's a goal every year, to maintain consistency. I'm sorry?
Is there more of an emphasis on it this year? Or?
No, there was an emphasis on it last year as well. I think, I mean, you know, to say we went haywire, it's kind of hard to, I think there's always things that you look back, like when I look back at all those games and I've watched all the games we played and how we, you know, looking from a year ago, like I don't expect our players to be invested in that, but I do in order to make adjustments and move forward. There's a lot of places where I know the adjustments that could have been made that weren't, that we've learned from. So I think like it's just every year getting better at things and figuring out how we're going to you know, make adjustments that we didn't make before. So I think the goal every year is to be as consistent as possible and to be able to foresee things. You know, that's one of the, I guess, toughest jobs as a coach, to be able to get to some of those things that sometimes are intangible, that you're not sure why something is happening or why a team does what it does. So those are things that I'm always working to try and figure out, and then I spend a lot of time in thought. I think that's one of the biggest things that I do as a coach, is just spend a lot of time thinking and trying to process how we're doing and why we're doing what we're doing, and then getting at like the physical side of it as well. But I mean, you want to get off to a good start, you want the middle to be good, you want the ending to be good, but I think that the biggest thing too is not to get overconfident or get complacent or think that the winning is going to be easy because it starts well. You know, I think there's a lot of adjustments that need to be made in all aspects of the game in order to keep that consistency building, and you know, we're working towards that. So
how's your team different than it was a year ago, and what are some of the areas that you feel like you maybe still are learning about your team right now?
It's not dramatically different in terms of personnel. We graduated one person, we added a few people with our freshman class. I think it's very different in terms of maturity and experience. A year can make a huge difference in terms of the development of young people, I think, on the field, off the field, everywhere. So I think that just the way we've kind of come together, we have a little bit more continuity, I think, on our infield. We have some different people starting, but I think that I think we learned a lot from a year ago. I mean, these guys can probably tell you that, just like kind of how our season went, and some places where we know that we could have done some things differently, where I could have, where they could have, where we all could have come together in a different way. And I think that we're using all of that information to kind of, you know, be better in this year and learn and grow from that. So I think just in how we're processing information, how we're taking things in, how we're dealing with adversity, because that's a huge piece of it. I think we're a very talented team. We were a very talented team last year, but it's a matter of being able to weather the ups and downs and not have, you know, not kind of stay down for too long, and be able to, like Josh was saying, maintain that consistency. So I think we've learned a lot from that, and that's a place where we're different. Like, I think we're handling, and we're going to handle things better on the field. So, yeah.
Okay.
You've been, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
You've been here for 15 of the 20 seasons this program has been around, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So having been here for 3/4 of it, how have you seen it change in the last 15 years?
Oh boy, dramatically. I think, you know, we've had obviously administratively at Pitt, there's been a lot of changes just over the past few years. So that's had impact. I mean, I wasn't here when the program started, but from that point where it was being, like, games were being played in Shenley Park to being on campus to now the facility that we have now, dramatic changes, both in commitment to the success of softball in general here at Pitt, and I think, like, the athletes that we've recruited, the talent that we've been able to get here. I think the way the university has evolved during that time there's been a lot of changes. So I think that, and then obviously, like, we switched from the Big East to the ACC. That conversion, I think, is, it's a very competitive conference. It was competitive in the Big East as well, but the ACC is definitely more of a challenge for us, I think, from a lot of different standpoints. So, I mean, all of those changes, I think we've definitely attracting a higher caliber athlete and a higher caliber student. And I think that the challenge of recruiting has grown tremendously. So I think that's a big part of it. Gosh, in so many ways. I think, the support that we have now is great. I think that the changes in our administration and have been very positive, and I think that Heather has a great understanding for softball, having been a softball student athlete at Michigan, and also for all our sports. But I think that there's been a lot of changes there that are very positive for the athletic department in general, so that's very exciting. A lot of changes.
Michaela, last year Caitlin was the only senior. Now I think you're one of 5 this year. What did you learn from her as far as being a senior leader on this team, and what have you kind of done to take that step in a leadership role, and you and the other seniors this year?
I don't know. I think just kind of as a senior, like, it's something where it's your last hurrah for a lot of it. Well, I mean, almost all of us. Like, it's our last go around. So I think it's just something where you want the team to want to play for you, and you want to play for your teammates too. So I think it's just a thing of kind of wanting to be out there and be the example of how you want your underclassmen and even your juniors who are going to experience it next year, just kind of giving it your all and going out there and just being the player that you were brought up to be. I think that's just, yeah.
Liv, did you do the Coach for College program?
Yes.
That was in Vietnam?
Yeah.
Can you just talk about that and what that was like and what you took away from that you were able to give to your teammates?
Sure, just kind of a brief rundown. I spent 3.5 weeks in Vietnam, and I was with myself and like 15 other student athletes from across the country, whether it would be from like Harvard. I was with like Princeton and UNC, Louisville, a couple other softball players actually. But basically what we did is we went over and stayed 3.5 weeks in a Royal Vietnamese community where we taught underprivileged Vietnamese youth life skills, softball, well, baseball, because they don't know what that sport is actually. And I specifically taught math. So it was like a pretty unique experience. The kids loved us, and you just kind of got a whole new cultural view of what other people live like outside of the United States, I guess. So it was great.
Have you talked to a lot of your teammates about possibly doing that program in the future?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I talk it up a good bit. Obviously, it's a big commitment because you're traveling 29 hours by airplane to another country where your parents have to be on board and stuff. My mom had a pretty hard time with it. But, yeah, I would recommend it to anybody doing it. It was great. Best thing I could have ever did, for sure.
How'd that come about as far as you getting involved in that?
Actually, Penny and the Life Skills program kind of set up the whole thing. They've been involved in the program for, I think, 4 or 5 years now, Pitt specifically, and they just kind of sent out an email and you applied, and I applied, and Pitt chose 3 student athletes to sponsor and take to Vietnam. So actually Pitt's, I was really blessed with them fully funding my experience over there, because a lot of other schools don't get to be fully funded. But yeah, they fully funded my experience, and it was a great one for sure. So.
Except that nasty gash.
Except, yeah, I fell down the steps actually and like got some stitches. So I got a nice little tattoo from there, but it's all good now. It was good. So.
Holly, you kind of touched on it a little bit, but what's it been like having a boss that has a very intimate knowledge of what your challenges are, what you're going through, and how's that been different than your previous experiences?
I don't think dramatically different. Like we haven't had, major heart-to-hearts about it, but I do think that it's nice that, I think just having that, she can appreciate, like, not just softball, but I think, all of the sports outside of football and basketball, which are obviously the attention sports at every university across the board. But I think that Heather can, uniquely appreciate the experience of a softball student athlete or a volleyball student athlete or a soccer student athlete. So I think that's really unique and it's nice. And I think, I think that there's just a lot of ways that her insight and her, her ability to kind of understand those kind of things are very helpful for all of us. So.
Holly, can you talk a little bit about the new players to the program and,
Sure.
and kind of their impact in the early going and what you've seen for them?
We have 3 freshmen. Morgan Batesall, she's from Walnut Creek, California. She's a middle infielder, can also probably play a couple other positions, outfield a little bit. She runs well. She's definitely helped us with our depth. Pretty solid at the plate, so she's going to definitely make some solid contributions, I think, in a lot of different areas. Bree Harrell is from right here in Pittsburgh. She went to Pine Richland. She's a power hitter. I think that she's going to probably have the greatest impact as a pinch hitter right now in the immediate future, and will continue to develop. And she's definitely going to give us some, some options off the bench. And then. Who's the other person? Hunter. Sometimes I can't remember everybody. Hunter Levesque, actually. She's from Albany, New York, and Hunter is also really versatile. She runs well. She's playing the outfield for us right now. She's played a lot of different positions, so she's been at short throughout her high school career, and she's also going to provide a lot of depth and versatility for us. So I think, the new people are really adding in a lot of different ways. We also have Taylor Rayhotch as a transfer pitcher who is, I think depth is really important because it gives us options. We have a lot of options off the bench, and I think our experience has been added there as well. So with some people from last year that are adding to that piece in Taylor Myers and Caitlin Kruger. So I think that we have a lot of good options there. So. And Taylor Rayhotch is definitely going to help us a lot on the pitching staff. And when Brittany Knight returns to the lineup, which should be soon, which we're really excited about. So she's coming off of a torn Achilles, and she should be getting back in hopefully this weekend. But that should help us a lot as well. So.